One. Oh, there we are. Actual recording is higher quality. See that up in the corner, Amy? That was what I kind of explained earlier. So before we introduce our guest, I just have to say, and I was talking about it earlier, with the new upgrade or the new updates to the iPhone and to the iOS or the Apple or Mac OS rather, you can actually now use your iPhone as your webcam. So that's what I'm doing today. So I'm going to have the best quality of picture out of anyone, and it's going to be really bad because I look old. That's the only thing I've noticed so far.
Seems like there'd be an app that could fix your face if you're still on the nicest camera.
Right. Well, I don't have the nicest. Anyway, folks, really, now that I got that out of the way, I'm really excited to introduce our guest today, Miss Amy Atkin. And Amy is a friend. She is a coworker, a boss, all of those things above. She's been in the PoddiMouths family now for, how long have we been running this podcast? 4 years, going on the 5th year, coming up pretty soon.
Yes.
So, Amy, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to PoddiMouths.
Hi, Amy.
Hello. Thanks for having me. I guess you were hard up for materials, so you called me, right? No.
So I want to be fair. Amy has been begging to be on the podcast since day one. She was literally sitting at the table when John and I met, and everyone said, "Hey, you guys should do a podcast." She was one of the. You guys should do a podcast. Yeah, she was. So it's an honor to have you finally on the podcast. I know it's partially our fault for not getting you on sooner. I'm only going to take. I know. I was going to take full credit. It's comedy gold right there.
That's comedy gold. Amy, it is so good to see you. And for those that don't know, Amy and I mean, yes, Nick and I were sitting together when she first said, "You guys should do a podcast." And we hadn't even thought about it. And I mean, it not only has it been fun, but it's been stupid that we have not had you on. So I am delighted to see you because it's been a while, and you look phenomenal, and we can't wait to talk about some stuff because you have stuff going on.
I have a couple things.
My gosh! Do you follow Amy on Instagram? Yeah, and it's making me tired.
Yeah. Yeah,
we're sleep. Like that's okay, right?
Wow, no kidding. Yeah, you are busy.
Well, I know we usually wait to the end to announce what we're talking about, but if anyone gets a chance, follow Restoration Momma on Instagram, and you're on Facebook as well. I don't look at Facebook very often.
Yeah.
So
but you have to spell it. It's Restoration, Restoration MOMMA. Do not make the mistake of doing MAMA because that will put you in like a wrestling thing.
Business name, that handle. Mm-hmm. I had no idea that there were 8 zillion ways to spell mama.
Well, in the South, you're in Tennessee, so in the South, it's like Restoration MeMaw. That's really what it is.
Mama, MeMaw, Mama. I don't know.
Gam. Yeah, Gam. You're not old enough for Gam. You're much too young for that. So let's talk about Restoration Momma because I'm just enamored by the stuff you do and some of the things. Look, I'll admit, not everybody has the same taste, right? But you have what struck me when I went to your website is you have 2 primary rules. Number 1, no fabric, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And number 2, unless you find a really nice chenille, which we'll talk about later, or number 2, you don't get stuff for yourself. You get stuff to resell, isn't that? Okay, it's more of a guideline. Yeah. It's more of a guideline than a rule.
It is. That's true. Yeah. No, I don't I used to have, in my 20s and 30s, I had all of these collections, right? Vintage hats and quilts and just all of this stuff. And honestly, when I moved to Tennessee, I sort of purged all of that stuff and I got rid of a lot of it. And I realized that my biggest problem is that my tastes change, as I kind of get older. So then I'm like, ew, I have 48 vintage hats that I don't know what to do with. So it really started out of a love of old things and wanting to, share that with people. And Nick knows this about me. I'm a history nerd anyway. So this was a way for me to really embrace both sides of that, right? Like I'm not a believer that we should throw things out. I think that if you have a piece of furniture that's been around for 200 years, that it probably has 200 more years in it. But the history behind it's really interesting too. So,
So talk about
I struggle with that.
Go ahead. I
was going to say, I struggle with that at home too. I've got, when my mom passed away, I inherited quite a few of her pieces, and she was big into antiques. They're
nice
useless
stuff,
in my, they're not, it's nice stuff, but in my house, they're useless. They're absolutely useless, but I cannot get rid of them because I'm the same way that
when you do, Nick, just know that you should do it with, like, you should share that, right? Because somebody else will probably use it and love it. And like, that's where I kind of, I have my pieces I'll never get rid of. And most of them were freebies from house flipping years ago. Yeah. And that was $5. They're mine and they have memories attached to them.
Exactly.
And they're not going anywhere.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between something that's, a hardwood antique and a fiberboard piece of crap you got from IKEA, or no offense, IKEA, but that they serve a purpose, but it's not something you hold on to for generations necessarily, like some of that cool stuff that you've found.
So here's another thing. This is really odd. I'm known as the glass lady at the place where I have my retail at.
I thought that was because you're so fragile.
That it is. I can't take it on the chin, let me tell you.
She can't dish it out either. She's no good at that. No.
Oh no.
Yep, like a mouse.
That's right. So I started, you source these things, and every day I'm looking for stuff and whatever. You start sourcing these things, and I found out that I started collecting a lot of glass, and then I really started to get into the history behind that. This country 100 years ago used to make amazing glass in Indiana, in New York, in Illinois, in Detroit. Like, I mean, amazing pieces. And so when you pick up this piece of glass that's so fragile, quite frankly, and it's 100 or 130 years old and it's in perfect shape, I just have a lot of admiration because I'm 50 and I don't look that good.
Wow.
So that's, and are you referring to, and the reason I'm asking is because going back to my earlier thing about having my own antiques, are you talking about depression glass specifically or just glass in general?
So just glass in general, because there's so many different, there's art glass, there's depression glass, there's molded glass, there's cut glass, there's like all this stuff, and there are a bunch of fakes out there too.
Yes, there are.
Trying to reproductions and fakes, and so trying to identify the real stuff from the fake stuff is a real challenge, and even the experts can't always do it. So to me, it's just a fun challenge.
Yeah. My wife's grandmother had a whole bunch of depression glass that she had kept. She bought it new. I mean, she's in her late 90s. So it's beautiful. It's ugly as hell, but it's beautiful at the same time. And then when she was giving it away because she was moving, she wanted the family to take it. No one would take it. And I'm like, I want it. And Jen shot me down. She's like, no, we're not having that in the house. We have no use for it. I'm like,
right,
girl,
right.
But it's depression glass.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's interesting. I managed to acquire from an estate sale that I went to 250 pieces of this specific type of glass in all different colors. I mean, I had an Armada at the time, and I'm telling you, I packed that thing so tight. I had stuff on my lap.
Nice.
And it took me like,
please.
I know.
Please don't hit anything on the way
home. I'm driving 5 miles an hour down the freeway.
Now, that's not true because I know they only do that here in Port Charlotte, Florida. whether they have glass or not, doesn't matter. But that does beg a question, Amy. So what is your normal process? How do you find that stuff? I mean, is it estate sales, or do you go, is it eBay, or heaven forbid, Craigslist, where you find things and then do you refurbish and then resell? I mean, what's your process?
Okay, so there's a couple different processes. The furniture thing is kind of its own independent thing. I do refurbish, but I do what's called respectful restorations. So if there is a watermark from somebody putting their cup of coffee on top of a dresser or a nightstand for years, I leave it there. I'll strip everything away and I will leave that watermark there.
Cool.
Or I had a dresser once that somebody who had beautiful handwriting had written letters on top of the dresser, and it made an impression. And so when I stripped it down, you could still see it, and I didn't want to get rid of it. So I left those words on top of the dresser. That's just sort of or like ink stains or whatever. Like, I tend to leave something there that tells the story of the piece. And you know what? That's not for everybody, because a lot of people want their stuff perfect and pristine. And look, that's not me.
So I'm curious. So as I was mentioning, Jennifer and I have very different tastes in things. I love history. I love antiques. I really enjoy that sort of thing. She's not. She likes the clean, modern. She doesn't. Yep. She would rather get rid of the watermarks and things like that. How about your husband? What does he think about your business and about the things that you bring home?
Well, I'm not sure, because I think we have similar tastes. I mean, he just kind of lets me go. Like, he's like, okay, here's how it works. I buy it and he picks it up.
Okay.
So some days he's like, do I need the truck? Do I need the trailer? Do I just need the car? And it's always a surprise. I just tell him which vehicle. He shows up and he's like, I don't know what this is. It's kind of cool. This is, it's really weird. He just kind of lets me go with it.
Okay.
But really, to answer the sourcing question, it's kind of all over the place, John. It's really interesting. That was the hardest thing to do when I started, right? And so I got into eBay a little bit, but that stuff's all retail prices, really. And so I sell on eBay. I sell on Marketplace, although not very successfully. I sell in retail. I sell on my website. I sell a little bit through Instagram. But to buy that stuff, it's really just shuffling things around, right? I mean, my 21-year-old enlightened me on that. Like, well, really, Mom, all you're doing is buying from somebody and selling to somebody else. And I was like, right, because it's not new merchandise. It's old stuff, right? So you have to get it somewhere. So auctions are a big thing for me. Estate sales are a big thing for me. Marketplace occasionally, and word of mouth. Like, that's a big thing too. Word of mouth. Mm-hmm. Like, somebody who's cleaning their barn out. Do you want to go look at it? Whatever. But I'll tell you a story about the auctions if you want to hear it, because this is kind of
of course,
classic me. So every Friday there's an online auction. I don't tend to talk openly about it, because admittedly I don't want too many people there, because
no, exactly.
You don't want to be outbid.
It's like finding a good restaurant. You go, I'm not telling anybody.
Yeah.
It's at 6:30 on Friday nights. It's on Facebook Live, of all things, and it's in Alabama, so it's an hour and a half away.
Interesting.
Okay? Right. So 6:30 every Friday night. My husband makes me a bourbon or opens a bottle of wine, and I sit and I have an adult beverage, and or a bottle, and I bid on things, right? And sometimes it's very random, and sometimes it's it's sort of things that I normally get. And so every Friday I do that, and then he gets together with a very good friend of ours, who you all know, and they go on Sundays, and I buy them breakfast, and they go down and pick the stuff up for me, and they have some dude time, and then they come back.
Nice.
That's nice. Awesome.
Honestly, that's a very big way.
I totally know who it is. I totally know who it is.
Yeah, the mutual. The mutual friend I saw yesterday, and I had to make fun of him because he's up north hunting, and he was wearing a mock turtleneck, a t-shirt, and a flat-billed baseball cap. I'm like, hey, are you trying out for the Major League Baseball, or are you going motocross or something like that? And, yeah, and of course, his demeanor, his one-word answer, always, yes.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
I know, I saw it yesterday too, and I was like, I didn't do a double take. I'm like, what?
Also, someone who's significantly older, and I hope he's listening, significantly older than me, has more color in his beard.
But
that
younger
bastard.
than I am, so thanks. Okay, move along. Jeez. It's like there's a ceiling. Doesn't Quaddy live in the Villages? So
you did move to Port Charlotte, Florida.
I know, it's really close. Well, at least I'm not living there. So I guess the whole thing about, I think about, having a cocktail while you're bidding. I can't go on Amazon after I've been drinking. Because you're going to end up with some surprise crap one way. I'm not saying I don't. I just don't and shouldn't. And you go,
I go on Amazon.
Who the hell bid on this? I wouldn't even.
I buy surprise shit off of Amazon even when I'm sober.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell just came to my door? I don't remember ordering that.
Exactly.
There are weeks I'm like, I don't know which vehicle you use because I'm not really sure what I bid on.
Oh, that's awesome. And you can talk more about that because you and your son got a really nice, was it a bird bath or was it a little bigger than a bird bath?
Oh, do you want to hear about that? Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So I was bidding on, there's a website that's called HiBid, and it's in every state. So the one for Tennessee is Tennessee HiBid. There's one in Alabama. And I thought, well, like Huntsville isn't too far away, and they have some good shit down there. Sorry, Mom. And
nice.
And,
well done.
So I thought, right, let's do it. So my son and I are bidding on things, and the description, now mind you, when you're bidding on this, it's all online. There's no going to look at it. So I don't know. Right. I don't know how big it is or what it is. So the description says that it's 5 foot tall. And I thought, well, I'm 5'4", so that's up to here, right? Yeah, it's manageable. So I bid on this thing, and I got it for I don't know, $20. And I was like, ooh, a concrete water fountain for $20? Score. So I show up. John knows where this is going. I show up. No. This thing was, the bowl of it, where it holds the water, was 5 feet around. Not around.
Oh, no. Oh, wow.
And how?
The bowl was 5 feet across. So I brought a trailer with me, and it starts raining. And it's this house on this busy highway with a small driveway. They have me pull into the muddy yard, and I get out. And they start laughing at me when I'm like, oh, we had the water fountain too. And these big dudes, they start laughing at me. And now, mind you, my son is 6 foot tall and, maybe weighs 120 pounds. Like, we're not strong people. So I get out, and the guy's like, just let us know when you're ready for that. Like, load everything else up. And I go, well, okay, but where is it? He goes, I'll tell you after. Like, he really didn't want me to know. So we load everything else up, whatever, and then I go back, and he's like, I'll show you where it's at. So we go walk around front. He's like, it's in the front yard. I'm looking around. I'm like, this thing's not it's not here. He pushes me through the thorny holly bushes in the front, and this thing's taller than me. And it's stuck into the ground. And I'm like, well, does it come apart?
Yeah.
Listen, it took 5 of them to get this thing into my trailer, and it was sitting sideways in my trailer because the bowl's so big. So I pull up to the gas station, and I take a bunch of pictures, and I send them to my husband. I said, do you think the trailer's going to make it?
I told you we should have gotten a 2-axle trailer.
I'm telling you. It was so... And then we got it home, and we were like, oh, how are we going to get it out?
No.
It's sitting in the front yard because what am I going to, now I'm like, well, now it's just a thing.
That's awesome. I thought you were going to say it's in the living room.
I don't think the house can handle it.
But it's got to weigh. Yeah, it's got to weigh a ton. I mean, it's the size of Jerry Nadler.
It is huge. These two little figures on it are almost life size. They're huge.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome! Wow, I saw the story in one of your posts on your website, and I thought, oh my gosh, that had to be just. I mean, what do you do with that? I got to give you props. Oh well, it's even funnier because I wasn't there to help. One of the phrases you or noted on your site, which I love, is something called trend fatigue.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? I love that. Could you talk a little bit about that? Because I see that and never put a name on it. We're trying to decorate our house that's almost being built, and
it's been almost for a while, John.
All that stuff, I know it has. But that trend fatigue is a big deal these days. Talk about that, would you?
It is. You're right. So I was trying to think of a way to put it because, things come back in style. It always comes back around. Here's a big one now. If you've noticed, like Art Deco. Or what people call Art Deco, Art Deco is becoming a thing, right? Again, which makes me happy because that's the kind of stuff that I like the most. That's the era that I like the most. But I'll give you an example, and I won't use their names, but those folks on TV that use shiplap a lot.
Yes,
I don't know who that is. Never.
You mean the really rich ones?
Do you want to see my T-shirt?
Yeah.
So if you start to look around, you'll notice that, that trend catches on. But after a while, you see it so much that your eye starts to see it different. And I think your brain starts to see that a little different. Oh, it's a farmhouse sink again. Oh, it's this again. And so, if you pick up things that you really love, then it doesn't matter. Like you can mix and match whatever you want. There's always a style. I mean, Nick talked about it, right? His wife likes the modern style, but I bet she picks things out that she really loves. And it's not necessarily, what we're told that we should be buying or what's on trend. It's really when I talk about trend fatigue, it's just seeing that stuff over and over and over again. And the first few times you see it, you're like, oh, I love it. And then you're like, man, am I tired of looking at that?
Yeah, exactly. And you said you can combat that by surrounding yourself with stuff you like, because then it doesn't matter. Then
it doesn't matter.
And I say that with the full knowledge that I got a great deal on a roll of shag carpeting that I know is going to come back in style. So I'm going to hold on to that.
A rake, though? Do you have a shag rug rake?
Yeah, I do have the rake. I actually use it for combing my hair now, and it seems to work very well. Yeah.
You do.
And a brown beard.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It fell off my head and went like this. That's why I always wear. Going back to what you were mentioning earlier, how our ideas change, the things that we love change. Sometimes it has to do with situations. I hated hats when I was growing up. Absolutely hated hats. Would not wear a hat, would not touch a hat. And now I wear hats all the time. I have this massive collection, but there's a reason for that. I don't like a burned head. So I've become a hat fan.
What he's not telling you, though, is that most of the hats that he wears stovepipe hats almost all the time.
All the time. All the time.
Yeah. It's the
camera
angle that would be a problem here.
Right. Yeah.
No,
I don't want to bug.
Your tastes change, and as trends change and things come in and out, like it's interesting. I have the most eclectic, weird furniture you've seen, but I like it all, and so when I come home, it feels very comfortable to me. Right?
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. And along those lines, when we asked about what your husband likes too, it's always about compromising too. So you had mentioned the difference in style. If I were to actually pick out a style, if I were single and had unlimited funds, I'd live in a modern house. I'd live in a house with all glass, very modern aesthetic. I love stuff like that. Jennifer is different. She would rather have more of a traditional farmhouse not the modern farmhouse, but the traditional farmhouse. Where we find the common ground is the more modern farmhouse, because it has the modern elements, it has the farmhouse elements. So there's a lot of combining those ideals together to compromise on something that's a little bit more homey. It's something when you come home, you feel comfortable. You feel like this is home, no matter where it is. I don't know where I was going with that. I was making a good point, but I obviously haven't had enough coffee.
It's combining taste and things that you like, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, my husband likes I wouldn't say modern things. I'd say he's sentimental in that, he likes things that his parents had in their house that they give him good memories, right? I mean, I would say that's probably it. And whereas, I'm a little more eclectic in that.
Yeah. So
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, sentimental. If you can see over my shoulder here, this blue thing in the background, that is middle school hockey, an award I won from middle school that my mom framed. What's in here does not matter to me whatsoever. It was the fact that my mom framed it, that it's sitting up here.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, that's right. And that's what a fun thing to share, not just, have around you, but it's not stuff, right? It's not just there for the sake of taking up space on a shelf. Like,
exactly.
It has meaning.
Exactly.
Yeah, so true. And I've got a friend, Lisa and I have friends that have their a beautiful house. Their dining room set is an old vintage table, and they have 8 chairs that are all totally different. And it's kind of cool because, I mean, they're all in decent shape, but you don't feel uncomfortable sitting on them. And it's just kind of a fun exercise in, personal style.
That was my mom's dining room table too. And that was one thing that I couldn't get Jen to let me keep because it was too eclectic. Sure. But that would have been something I'm the same way. I would have loved that.
Yeah,
I know.
It's kind of a cool thing.
Back and forth.
So I gotta segue because this is another thing that you are into, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's a normal thing this time.
I don't think
you have become a happy camper.
Oh yes, well yes.
Well,
not so happy right now.
I don't mean to say happy because maybe not, but you have. So, okay, I'm not up to date on the coolest stuff, but I know Nick has gone with you. I know that, or not, in the same, probably. Anyway,
right.
He's been at the same campground as you, but I also, you have a retro, or at least had retro camper, right? A bumper pull. And
I can't wait to hear this story.
All right. So, that's where I had to lead up because I love that. I love mostly. It's like I want friends that own boats. I want friends that own campers so they can tell me about it, and I can do camp vicariously through people.
So, we were quarantined in 2020 here, and mind you, I live on 5 acres, so way off the road. Like we're I wouldn't call it isolated because we have lots of folks around us, but I'm not in a neighborhood where we're surrounded by people all the time. Mm-hmm. But still, being at home all the time, in sort of quarantine, there's a lot of us. I have a pretty big family, and there's a lot of us packed into this house. And so, I was finally one day, I was like, that's it. We've been talking about camping forever. I wanted to do it forever. We're quarantined. We're stuck in this house. We're going to buy a camper. And so we were looking at vintage ones and we were going to redo it. And then we were like, you know what? It's just too much. Like, it's too much work. I want to camp now, whatever. So from the time I found one that I liked that was a couple hours away. So from the time I said that to our very first trip out to the campground was 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. That's awesome.
I made a list because I remember going when I was a kid, right? So I made a list of all the stuff we needed. And I mean, I talk about like getting on Amazon. I was like, all right, did that. The guy was like, really?
Yep.
Times today.
Yep, exactly.
So it's a modern version of a vintage camper. And so I said, there are a couple things that I want. It better have a full bathroom. and it better have heat and air conditioning, like in a comfortable bed. Like that's really all I want. Everything else, whatever. So we go, and my husband, who's normally like, ooh, that's too much. It's excess. Let's pare it back. Oh, no. He went all in. He was like, that one you like isn't big enough. I want one that's
Nice.
Yes.
So I said, okay, whatever. So we took whatever was coming in. And and I mean, I'm telling you, we're going next week. This will be our third year that we're spending at the same campground. And I will cook Thanksgiving dinner over and in the fire.
Nice.
Awesome.
We're doing the same thing this year, Amy.
Are you?
Except not in a camper. We're tent camping.
You're tent camping? Well, it's supposed to be nice.
Right next to you, probably. Next to you. You didn't know that. Yeah.
So, that would be fun.
Yeah. He calls it dumpster diving.
Dumpster. That would be no. So I had this. I'm going through the big plan and where we're going, and it's a national park. And I was going through the whole list. I'll tell you, it's Land Between the Lakes. And I had Jen going, and Peyton's all excited until I read the little line that said alcohol prohibited, and then Jen's like, "I'm out. We're not going."
Nice.
Well, alcohol is prohibited outside of your little
exactly
area.
Right.
That's the best way to put it.
You know what, for those in the government that are listening right now, I would never have a flask or two or three that are filled with any substance that would alter my mind in any way that would ever come in the car with me and show up at a campsite. Never would I do that.
And you know what? We don't have a tiki bar that we set up every time we go camping either.
See?
No, of course
it doesn't happen.
No.
Right.
No. Why would you?
So
hold on. I'm sorry. I'm just taking some notes here.
Yeah.
Tiki bar.
So here's a funny thing that I didn't realize that people do. They name their campers. So I've had this thing for 2 years. I don't know what to name it. Like I keep trying to think of a name, but all the cool kids name their campers. So
how about Leaky?
Leaky.
Oh no!
Too soon. Sorry.
Whoa! Too soon.
Too soon. Very much too soon. It's not fixed yet, and I'm afraid my foot's going to go through the floor this week.
Oh no!
So we decide, like, what are we going to name it? It's not like naming a boat. Like, what are you going to name your camper? I don't know. So we decide that we're going to theme it. We, meaning me, decide that we're going to theme it all like Disney World Adventureland. So that's what we did. Like the whole inside is all the Jungle Cruise and
that's awesome.
Nice.
Oh no,
that
it
is so you. Yes,
it's so me. I had so much fun outfitting this thing. My husband was like, "Oh my God, stop!" So I made a wheel cover, and for all the Disney fan nerds out there, there's a thing called I can't even think of it. Jungle Navigation Company. So I made a wheel cover with that on it. And then I was like, well, that's perfect. It's on the Jungle Cruise. We'll name it Bertha because Bertha is the big elephant in the Jungle Cruise that you see. So no one's going to get that. But I named it Bertha. And so now I put a big Bertha on the back. So
nice.
Oh my God. Every time I bag this thing into the camper, like I get laughed at the camper. Put the big butt into my,
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
That.
He's like, what are you doing?
That's
now?
amazing.
I named the camper.
Do you name your cars?
Mm-mm.
No. See it.
My old truck, I just call Old Blue. That's her name. Yeah.
That's a good name for that truck. It's a beautiful truck.
I didn't know what to name.
Yeah. We name our cars. Maybe because we don't have anything, we don't have a camper or a boat to name, but we name our cars. So my Jeep, because it's white and with the blue accents, is Fjord. Fjord. Yep.
Fancy names.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, not really. My wife's car is red and so she calls it Ruby. But yeah.
That's a good one too. John, come on, John.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not playing your stupid game. I'm sorry. I call my truck Bertha. I just didn't want to steal your thunder.
Nice.
Oh, Oh, that's awesome. So what happened? So that Nick, when did you told me you visited Amy at their campground or something like that?
We went
that
camp. So no,
about?
we have camped adjacent. We went for a business outing. We went camping. That was last year.
Okay.
That was a lot of fun, and spent a lot of time around the bonfire with our whole team. And then also, when I went to Colorado this past summer, that was for a meeting with Amy's team. So we weren't together camping, but I went camping in that, and then went down to the meeting, and then camped afterwards. So it was, again, camp adjacent.
But
So that's probably what you're referring to.
He camped, like tent camping by himself in bear country on the side of the mountain. And I'm like, nope.
No.
Bertha was not with me.
No.
Yeah, I stopped at a Marriott where the pool was under construction. I said, forget it. So you know that I'm not doing any of that crap. That is awesome.
One thing that Amy did do before, and I know we want to go back to what's going on with Bertha, but one thing Amy is also keen on doing when she goes camping is fly fishing. If you go to her Facebook page, it's a picture of her with her feet up and fly fishing. So that's a big thing.
My dad taught me how to fly fish a really long time ago. So my mom taught me how to sew and bake when I was very young. Like, she taught me how to sew when I was 6, 7, and I started baking about that too. So she really helped me with that. Right. Not that I sew my own clothes, but I can sew curtains in a pillowcase, damn it. And then my dad taught me how to fly fish. It was just a way for something for us to do that we had in common together. And I'm telling you, he took me out on the river, the El Sabo River in Michigan, and I fell in love with it from the instant I stepped in the water. And so it's something I wanted to share with my family. And, they're not exactly outdoor sports folks, but my 21-year-old was like, I'll do it with you. So I take him out, and he loves it too. So it's something that we do together. It's something we do when we go camping. I always sit down, cross my feet, and take a picture wherever I'm at, just because it's so beautiful. Like, you have to take a second. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And look, we're a little bit, we're degenerates. We get out there. We're not serious about it. I have a flask and a cigarette hanging out of my mouth. That's what I do. I don't know.
Yeah. In fact,
healthy, not so much, but whatever.
In fact, there's a picture on, I don't remember if I put it on PoddiMouths or one of the other, I know it's on my personal Instagram, but I think I put it on one of our other Instagram accounts too. It's a picture of my mocha pot sitting in front of a lake.
Yeah.
That is, Amy is standing behind me when I took that, drinking the espresso that from the beans that she roasted. Mm-hmm. So that whole scene was a fly fishing scene right there. I just wanted to add
That's
that.
very cool. Go ahead.
Let's be honest here. I wouldn't call it a lake.
No, it was more of a pond with True. There wasn't much there.
Body of water in the middle of town, John.
Which I'm not convinced there was fish in it.
No,
I don't want to say Nick embellishes sometimes, but he embellishes.
I want to be a storyteller.
Yeah, whatever. So I'm in front of this massive lake. I think it was spring fed.
It was actually it was spring fed.
Okay, sure it was. Yeah, I'm sure it was. Oh, it's a bottle of spring water. That's all it was. It was That's how it's spring fed.
I photoshopped that out.
Of course. You know what? I wish I could get into fishing more, but as long as they sell that stuff at the store, no thanks.
That's right. Well, I don't keep any of them because honestly, then you'd have to clean them and deal with all that.
Yeah, that's
bingo.
Yep.
All right. Now we're simpatico. Okay, so tell us about Leaky, and because that sounds icky.
Leaky Bertha.
Leaky
Bertha, yeah. That's a whole different story.
I'm sensing a lot of moisture.
Thank you.
Wow, stop it.
Really nice.
Stop it. Jeez.
Is that word? Yeah. I hear Bertha is very girthy too.
He actually is.
Another long story.
Bertha. Yes, stop
Yeah.
that.
Yes,
Okay. So you sprung a leak?
I guess we did, because I was getting in and this, like, I was walking in the door and the floor was kind of squishy, and I was like, "What's up with that?" And so then we started to notice more and more, and it is the whole side of the camper floor is no longer viable. We'll call it that.
No.
So we need to rip out the kitchen and that whole side and the floor and redo it.
Jeez.
No idea how it happened. They pressure tested, couldn't find anything wrong with it. But I'm like, how? Like, it doesn't magically happen. Anyway,
Wow.
so that's our winter project to get Bertha back.
Oh, man.
Less moist.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, like with a house, trying to find out the origination of a leak, especially, I mean, it can be a small thing in an RV, especially and it can travel. You know, it comes in one area and it travels to, it's just
That's the thing. And so I'm like, I don't want to fix it till we find it, right? Like, I need to know where it came from. I'm not going to go through all this. So anyway.
Exactly.
We'll see what happens.
Wow.
Poor Bertha.
Well, we will certainly hope for the best for Bertha, for Gertha, Girthy Bertha.
Gertha Bertha.
No, I'll post that on some kind of social.
Yeah, I think you should, with a cigarette hanging out of your mouth.
There you go. And a flask. And a flask, yeah.
and a flask, exactly. I think I'm going to go. I'm going to do some online bidding. So Nick touched on it just for a second, Amy, but coffee may be in your future. Is that accurate?
It is accurate. So as one gets a little older, not the two of you would know. You've got like
oh hell no,
no,
I wouldn't know at all. No.
Yes, we're so youthful.
But as you start to get toward like, you know, thinking about retirement and what that looks like, you know, it's getting kind of crowded here in Tennessee. Let me just put it that way. And so we're not going to be here forever. We know that. And so we're trying to figure out what our next move is. Now, the discussion is, I have 4 kids, 2 older, 2 younger. The older boys are like, yeah, we'll go with you wherever you want to go. Let's all go together. So I hope they feel that way in a few years. Let me put it that way. Yes. So we're talking about maybe moving and starting a coffee thing, starting a coffee business. That's one thing that we talked about, and it's
very cool.
Yeah, so we're trying to figure out: do we want mountains and pine trees and moose, or do we want sandy beaches, palm trees, and
yes,
yes,
mountains, you want those at alternating times of the year.
That's fair enough. I'll acquiesce to that statement. Yeah.
I love both. I really do. But yeah.
I do too.
Cold?
But
I love cold.
But I love mountains and pine trees.
Oh, okay.
But in June. And nice horses that you can ride. We went to Banff one year and it was so awesome, and did a horseback ride Friday morning, 6 a.m. It was crisp, 50 degrees. And the mountains, and it was gorgeous. And then a week later, they got 1.5 feet of snow, and you go, glad we're not there, because that's when and you know, so now you look today at Syracuse and Buffalo, and
with
they're
8
getting
feet,
like a
6
world
feet.
record of like 6 feet of snow. I am out. I mean, I lived through some of that, and
see, it's funny you say that. When I read that, first thing I thought is, man,
you're so lucky.
There. Yeah, exactly.
My snowblower when I moved down south. For my snowblower.
Yes, it was.
Nice.
I love that.
Now, the weather's been nice and cool here. I have my heat set at 59, and I am happy. I love it. My family's not happy with me, but I love it. It's fantastic.
Mine set at 73, and I have a portable heater next to me.
I have
I'm not going to say I don't have one of those.
Set at. I just go.
You don't have heat.
Put on or take off clothes. It doesn't matter to me. I need a tank top.
John.
Yes.
Wow.
So what's your, I mean, how you've actually started roasting beans.
Yeah.
So how did you learn to do that? And are you like a coffee crazed person like Nick is, or what's your take on all of that?
I mean, that's something that Nick and I certainly have in common. We both enjoy a good bean.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom. Coffee bean. Like a
Coffee bean.
Yes.
So, did you like I paused for dramatic effect?
That was really
well played.
Done. You have the comedic timing down. Let's call you Amy Rickles.
You wouldn't know comedic timing of it.
Well, you don't even know the words.
Anyway,
so
I do too.
Pot
I said
calling kettle black.
That was part of the funny. Yeah. Did you hear how he stuttered? That was hilarious. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know what to say to that.
Perfect. My work here is done.
That's right. So, so I bought an overpriced espresso machine as I don't know, some whim thing I did years and years ago. This is probably 15, 20 years ago. And I'm like, I don't know how to use this thing. And I thought, like, what are you going to do? You're going to put, like, some whatever store brand coffee in there? I'm like,
Folgers, yes.
So I started doing some research in, like, roasting your own coffee beans is a thing. And so I kind of hooked up with some folks that do that, and then found a few sources for raw coffee. That these folks is called, I'll do a company plug. It's called Sweet Maria's, and it's all online. And these folks go down and they source the coffee beans. I bet you didn't know that coffee is a conflict product. And so these are all conflict free. These folks work directly with the producers, and they make their own blends. And so I bought a coffee roaster off of Amazon. And it's nothing big. I do a half a pound at a time, but that's enough to keep you going.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's something cool. I'm going to have to sneak into my Christmas list. Anytime I buy a new coffee, anything, I get so much shit from Jennifer. And I just bought a percolator because we don't have one. And it was probably 2 weeks of pure hell in the house because she's like, you don't need that. And I'm like, yeah, but we can use it camping. You can use it as this, you can use it as that. And it was this big court case in my house about, buying a percolator.
Well, this because I'm sure you have an entire room dedicated to your coffee stuff. Like you have a lot of coffee stuff.
Yes.
We have a separate place in the kitchen. It's a coffee bar. Like that's what it is. And if you don't have a pour over yet, that's your next move.
Got two of them.
Oh, he does. He has two.
He does.
Yeah. I only have one. I'm kind of a newbie.
Well, we'll get you up to speed. Something else to spend your money on.
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've been looking for stuff.
I
know. Well, that is awesome. I told Nick I have a buddy who does some, actually has a full-on business roasting, and it's delicious. I mean, the fresh roasted, and it's not right away. He always says when he gets it, I just roasted this today. Wait 2 days or 3 days before you enjoy it. Yeah. And wow, he's right. It's incredible how flavorful it is. So, you think of the stuff that's sitting on the store shelves, and whether it's vacuum packed or whatever, there's just nothing that's close.
No, and it's weird. You don't know because you don't. Yeah, it's not something you normally do. You don't really grow up with that, And as soon as you have it, you're like, I don't really want the store bought stuff.
Right,
you get spoiled. It changes exactly right.
Very
well, and it's true. And I will say this: that I've moved up now to the Sanka instant stuff, and that's
good. That's
good. It's really really
imagine
good.
this, John. Here I come. I have this little baggie with like some brown stuff in it, and I hand it to Nick. And everyone around.
Yeah, great. Shh. Yeah. Don't tell anybody.
No.
You think she's kidding? This happened. This actually happened.
I'm sure. I could so see it happening. But here's the other part I know. She would do that just because she doesn't want other people to know, oh, Amy makes coffee? No, it's drugs. Shut up, it's drugs.
We just put coffee around it so the dogs can't smell it.
Can't smell it, exactly.
It's okay.
Oh my gosh. Oh man, that's beautiful. All right. So last topic, if we can, because it's all I had room for, was just because of your expertise, Amy, and we are all kind of collectively in this industry, automotive, man, there's so much that's changing and so much that is happening. And a lot of OEMs, manufacturers, are putting everything on EVs. And they're essentially saying goodbye to ICE vehicles and saying internal combustion is not, it's not the way of the future. And whether that's true or not, they're jumping in with both feet. What's your take on all of that? And I'm not trying to lean you in one direction or the other. What do you think about where the industry's going?
So I'll start off by saying that I am definitely a car person, so I really enjoy burning dead dinosaurs. I
I like the way you put that. I'm going to use that from now on.
Yes, of course.
I like, I've known how to drive. If I could have a manual transmission, whatever, I'm all over it. But I'm also smart enough to know that, like, for transportation wise, doing things like, getting back and forth to work or going to the grocery store, like not necessarily joyriding everywhere. It's really not viable. I mean, I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. We definitely need to shift away from, stealing that resource from our planet because there isn't much of it. So we have to do something. What that is, I don't know, because I don't think as a species we figured out the end result yet, right? And what the end is going to be for how we get ourselves around. We're definitely, for the most part, we're not set up for any kind of public transportation system just because, again, it's my opinion, but we're such a big country and we're so spread out that we don't really have that. So something needs to change. Mm-hmm. I'll keep my, personal thoughts on where I think that's going to go. But I don't think that this isn't going to be it. So for me, it's good to see the commitment. I think the only way that it's going to happen is if you get OEMs to commit to it. And I feel like everyone has done so. And so collectively, they're going to make it work. And I think they're going to make it work in a good way. I think that a certain person that owns a certain company that he started on his own, he's shown the world that it can happen. And, people were really skeptical and thought that he would go out of business and whatever. Mm-hmm. And man, he hasn't, and he's not going to. I really don't think so. No.
Well, he's the number one luxury vehicle retailer out there right now.
That's right. I mean, that's his only business is EV. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest. Yep. And it's sustainable in that way. So
that and a certain other social media network.
Because that's
that and another, this social media network. I don't know if anyone's
because he's making a boatload of money on that.
Yeah, right.
That thing.
But to your point, and what I do think about that particular company, I think is a really good fact. If you look back at Henry Ford and what he did to revolutionize he didn't invent the car, but he revolutionized the production of vehicles. And that's, whether or not this certain person has done that or just shown, as Amy said, that it can be done. Now it's shown that it can be done. Now it's up to really smart people out there to figure out how to do it better, just like Henry Ford did.
Yeah. I don't think when the ICE, vehicle was invented, anybody thought that, 100 years later that we'd still be using it. I mean, I just don't think that was the intention. The intention was to get from point A to point B faster, more comfortable.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I look at it a couple, and since we're all kind of SMEs, I'll feel comfortable weighing in on this. I think that the difference between Henry Ford is he did not have government subsidies. So it was what happened was the market is what caused it to happen. Right now, that's not what's happening.
I can see what you're saying there. That's very true.
But it's the government wants us to be EV centric, and my question is why?
Yeah. Well, you make a really good point there.
That becomes a little scary. Sketchy.
You look at it from you back into it. You have to ask the question as why haven't we gone that direction without that push? Yep. And part of it is because just like Henry Ford, there are people making way too much money. And if you're making way too much money, are you really going to give that up? I mean, that's the bottom line right there. So,
follow the money is usually a pretty good statement. Anytime you look at any of that stuff. Yeah. And you got to be careful, I think, because the situation Europe has found itself in this year with energy. Mm-hmm. They were going to go, I mean, they toasted nuclear, which, oh my gosh, talk about energy efficient. And then they, all petroleum, and we're going to do wind and solar, and they're going to be screwed this winter, and some say, and it's just kind of a scary thing when you're all in one direction.
Right.
So multiple channels, like we talk about a lot, sometimes is the best answer. But anyway, it's always good to hear another expert, and certainly you are well positioned for
down the road too, right? Like down the line, because people who are servicing these vehicles, it's very different.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think, it'll take 100 years for, all the anti-guise vehicles to get off the road anyway. So you always still have that to some degree.
For us, right. Exactly.
For us, that's right.
Yeah.
But, I think it's a matter of, I don't know, need over want, I guess, must have over, I kind of want it. And so, again, we have to make some change as a species. I'm not saying it's the end, but you can't do it, to your point, unless somebody forces your hand. And believe me, I'm a big, wait, what? You want to see what?
Exactly. And it's okay as long as it makes sense and it's an obvious reason. But as we continue to learn, follow the money, and you'll
follow the money.
Out what the real
that's always it. Yep.
Oh my gosh, Amy, I cannot say how awesome it is to see you. I mean, I can say it. I will. It's awesome
and you should. Yeah.
I can't say it enough because it's been a long time, and it's always great to catch up. That's for sure.
Amy, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know, you're preparing for your very much deserved vacation coming up over the Thanksgiving holiday, and folks out there, I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving as well. Amy, where can people see you on the socials? I know I mentioned it at the top of the show, but is there any place that you'd like to send people so they can see what you're up to?
So really, it's Restoration Momma, MOMMA, and that's kind of where I'm. That's right.
Yeah,
that's where I'm. That's where I reside. That's where you'll see all the cat videos and the cat pictures.
Nice. And they are a lot of fun to watch. So we have enjoyed very much having you on, and thank you very much, folks.
Well, thanks. No better way. I'd rather spend a Saturday morning.
Woo! Well, if I know a better, maybe a less than better way, if you want to go take Peyton to horseback riding lessons, that would be very much appreciated. It's very cold up on the hill, windy. So no takers. Okay. Guess I'm going to have to go do it. Folks, it's been real. It's been fun. And it's been real fun. You head up to PoddiMouths.com, check out all of our past episodes. I will have a link to Restoration Momma up there eventually. Amy, I know you've heard the podcast before. It usually takes me a good month or two before I actually do what I'm going to say I'm going to do on the website, but the episode will be up there. You can also see us on YouTube and anywhere you listen to your podcasts. You can also watch us on Spotify. I like to add that. Not a sponsor, wish they would, but maybe someday. $500 million, I think, is good enough for the PoddiMouths. Maybe, I don't know. But that being said, Amy, have a lovely break. A good Thanksgiving. John, you do as well. And we will see you all in another week or so.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving. See ya.
See ya.